Okay, so who am I? I am, besides co-founder of Divine, I'm also a senior video editor with Advanced Systems Group, working on site at Google, the Sunnyvale location. Been there for about 5 years or so. But I've also been in the Bay Area as an editor for over 25 years. Sometimes I'm full-time at different places. Sometimes I've been freelance. And, you know, like many of you who are freelance, I'm sure you've worked on some great projects, very creative, worked with some cool people, but I'm sure you've seen a lot of chaos. And that's what tonight's talking about, how to like not have chaos. Like another title we have for this was like Vampire Workflows Suck or whatever. You know, we were just trying to come up with Halloween theme, but we just settled on this. Okay, so let's see. Hopefully my clicker works. What are zombie workflows? Zombie workflows are unintentional and inefficient ways of working. So the number one word I want you to like walk away with tonight is intentionality. I think a lot of times like we get the brief and we just start on the project and it's just like, oh, the creative will take care of itself. It's like putting our time and energy into the actual creative, but it's like, it's important like how we create, right? Because that can be super stressful and people can burn out. So we don't want that. So workflows to bury. So there's 4 that I've come up with I think that are pretty key. The first one, poor communication. How we communicate can really be not great, especially when it comes to communicating with the client. You know, like we're on Frame.io doing revisions and the client is saying stuff to us and we're like, what does that mean? And so, you know, we have to make sure also that we're being clear with the client as well too, because they'll reciprocate that. And how we communicate with one another. And even more importantly, when we start, we need to have clarity on like, what exactly do you want this video to be? So we need to have an intake form, right? That kind of thing. So communication is really key. Second thing, poor organization. Now, this can look like a lot of different things, but for me as an editor, because again, this is a very post-production centric presentation. It's just what I know is my world. But like poor organization is for me, like when I go on site and I like go and click on a hard drive and it's like chaos, the files are everywhere, it's like frustrating. So it's like we really have to be organized so we don't have our clients, our projects just like drive us crazy. Third thing, inefficient processes. So let's say you came up with a way to do something, but it has like 30 steps. Maybe that's how many steps you needed like 3 years ago. But now there's some new technology that's come out, and now you can do all of that in like 5 steps or 3 steps. So keeping up with the latest innovations is very important. And finally, no documentation. That really drives me crazy because like a lot of times like I will go into shops and they'll sit me down and like, Eric, here's how you do this thing. And it'll be like 30 steps. And as soon as the person leaves, I'm like, wait, what was it that I'm doing? But if it was all written down, then I could just like pull it up and go, oh, okay, this is what I need to do. Instead, I have to call this person back and have them explain it to me again. So documentation is very, very important. So workflows to resurrect. Number 1, again, like I said, intentionality. Coming up with a plan, documenting the plan. Second thing, having modern workflows. So workflows that are cloud-based, networked, integrated. Automated workflows. We shouldn't have to manually do things anymore nowadays. It used to be we kind of had to manually do everything, but now there's so many tools, maybe some we don't even know about, that can really speed things up and make it so that we don't, again, have to just do every single process that we have to do. And then finally, emergent workflows. So workflows that aren't quite here yet, they're kind of nascent, they're on the periphery, but we need to like know what the trends are because before you know it, they'll be here and they will be ready for prime time. But when they're not ready for prime time, we still need to like try them out, test them out, get on the beta program so that we can bring them into our workflow. So I'm gonna just go through each one of these a little bit. Okay, and by the way, there'll be a time for like questions at the end. All right, so intentionality. Great storytelling deserves great systems. That quote is by Wesley Swinnen. He's a video editor and post-production supervisor in this studio in New York. They do a lot of like primetime episodic TV shows. And he is he's really on it. Like, I really think that there's a lot of creativity even in how we organize things. It's not just in the actual creative that we're doing. But again, we need to have these systems. So what he created is something that I'm a big believer in. He created his version of this thing. It's called a standard operating procedure. Has anyone heard of this? SOP? Oh, good, thank you. No, some people haven't heard of it. I actually don't like the term standard operating procedure. It sounds like a NASA document, you know. I actually like workflow guide, because it's a guide, you know, to how we work. And so he came up with a template, and I took that template. It was free for everybody to use, and I added my kind of categories and things to it, and I want to show that to you now. So this is a standard operating procedure that I made using Trello. All right, so this is the workflow guide for the fictional Vine Studios. Does anyone know Trello? Does anyone know about that? Oh, great. Yeah, it's a project management tool, and it's like my favorite. It's pretty simple. It is not as fully featured as some of the other ones, but I like it because it has these, like, you see these like colored columns. These are boards, and inside these little white slats obviously are the cards. And so this now has turned this kind of what used to be a boring workflow guide into something that's, you know, dynamic and interactive and modular, like something you really want to use. And so the thing about Trello, it kind of moves from left to right. So on the left, you have like, project startup procedures and team structure communications, and then you just slide over all the way to the very end where it's like delivery and archiving, post-mortem even. But yeah, if you're new to a studio, if you're freelancing, then you use this document, and you see on the left, it's like file level folder structure, file level naming convention, you know, post-production checklist, intake questions to get a new client. What do you want your video to be? Answer these 10 questions, and we'll make sure we give that to you. Team structure and communication. So you click here, and it's like, here are the names and information, email and phone numbers for the key personnel. Very, very key. And the thing about it is it even links to things that aren't on this document. So maybe some of you use an all projects tracker. So you click on this file, it takes you to an all projects tracker. This is a form, a Google Sheets spreadsheet that tracks all of the projects. We have 10 videos here, right? Each video is a different line. And we have this kind of traffic light system here. So needs attention, task in progress, task completed. You know at a glance where you are in this process. And this is just pre-production. These are all these different tasks that we need to do in pre-production. But if you go to these tabs at the bottom, well, here's production, here's post-production, right? But all of that lives inside your workflow guide. And let's say you need to go to a single project, just one video. Maybe you were hired to work for this one video. Then you go to the single project tracker, you click here, and here we go. Same thing, a checklist of like what needs to be done in different phases of production, right? So very helpful. Another thing I like about Trello is you can color code it. I came up with this color key, so depending on like my role in the studio, like I'm an editor, right? So green equals edit. So that means anytime I see like a green slat on any of these cards, then that lets me know what's important to me. So just very, very helpful. Vendor credentials for different websites that we use, because we always are wondering what they are. Let's say you go over here, emergency procedures, troubleshooting. Oh, this is how we fix some issue that we had 6 months ago. So you can see how this workflow guide can be very important. And so if you use Trello, this is free. I have the link to this in the folder that on the QR code. But I know what you're thinking. Maybe you're like, oh, I don't use Trello. I don't even use project management tools. That's fine. I recreated this whole thing as a Google Sheet. And so here's what this looks like as a Google Sheet. The same columns that we had are tabs at the bottom of the sheet. So you can take this and customize it according to how you and your team works, because everyone at least uses Google Sheets. Okay, so that is a good example of, again, being intentional. And again, these are the other project management tools besides Trello. Like at work, we use Asana, for instance. But ClickUp is great. I love ClickUp, and I'm sure I'm missing a few. But anyway, so that's kind of being intentional. Modern workflows, cloud-based, networked, integrated, like I was saying. So let's go back and show you an example of what that means. We go back to this workflow guide. Click here on the left, we see a content flow diagram. I'm going to make that bigger. And basically what this gives you is a bird's eye view of how content flows through our studio. So if I'm new to the studio, I know at a glance, okay, this is how things work here. Because I genuinely did not know at some places I went to, like, wait, what's going on here? So we have the raw footage coming in here, and it goes to an administrator who puts it in a folder, and then that's uploaded to Lucid Link, which goes to the cloud, which people know about Lucid Link, right? It's changed the game. Basically what it is, it's a way for you to stream your footage and edit it in the cloud, even though the footage is in the cloud. You can even edit it before it finishes uploading. They came up with some proprietary technology, and now they have several competitors. So it's really changed the game. No more mailing drives if you don't want to, or SneakerNet and all these things. So yeah, Lucid Link is a game changer. And so you're editing in the cloud, your motion designer, your editors, they're going back and forth on Frame.io, which is, industry standard review and approval tool. And then once they're done, the sound mixer and the colorist, they do final mix and color, and then they take the final project and upload that to Iconic, which is a media asset manager that's, again, in the cloud. So no more like archiving to, locally on-prem and using LTO, and that can be kind of dicey. So this is a good example of a modern workflow. It's cloud-based, it's networked, it's integrated. And obviously everybody's workflow is going to look different because every studio is different. Budgets are different, and the projects you work on are different. But this is just an example of what it could look like. So the third thing is automated workflows. So Premiere Pro has a lot of AI, right? We all know this at this point. We've seen the tutorials. We're probably using them. I am. And it has really helped automate a lot of what we do. It's almost like having an assistant editor right in our box. But you also have Edit AI and Cutback, which are also these kind of assistive editing tools. And these are actually 2 past sponsors for the Vine. But there's a couple of local programs on every computer that you may not know about that comes with every single Mac. And they're Automator and Terminal. Who knows about Automator? Oh, good. Anyone uses Automator? Okay. I mean, it's been around for like decades. What? Yes, really. It's been around for like decades. I only recently started using it maybe like 5 or 6 years ago or something like that myself. But it lets your Mac do repetitive tasks for you. And so I'm going to show you a couple demos. So the first one is I worked at with a team where we had to like rip a lot of like slides from a deck and put those images into the video that we were making. So if we didn't find a way to automate that, it would be super tedious. We'd have to do screenshots of each slide. And obviously that would take forever, especially if you had like 50, 60, 70 slides. So there's a way to do that with Automator. So I'm going to squeeze this out and we'll open up Automator. So we go Automator, and we're going to open this workflow, which I've already made. So this is the UI. It's basically simple. On the left, you have the different actions that you can work with, the building blocks. And on the right, you have the workflow. So just think of it as like the ingredients and the recipe. And so what do we want to do? We want to rip slides from a deck, and that's what we're going to do. We just go add. So I want to say that you have to export the whatever it is, the keynote, the PowerPoint, as a PDF. So I've done that. It's on my desktop. I've exported this very presentation as a PDF. Here it is. I'm going to add it. Then it's going to say, what do you want to do? I want to render those as TIFF images, but you can do JPEG, PNG, whatever. And then I'm going to name them ZW slide, ZW for zombie workflow, slide 1, 2, 3, 4, so it'll be sequential. And then what I want to do, I want to put them in a folder. So I'm going to put these in a folder called ZW slides. So ZW slides, all right? Put it on the desktop, and then I'm gonna hit run to run this workflow, and there you go. We go to the desktop, and there all our beautiful slides. Didn't have to do screen grabs, and you see how quick that was. I know what some of you are thinking. I don't do this. Like, I'm an indie filmmaker, or I do music videos. I don't deal with slides, right? But this last demo I'm going to show you real quick with Automator is something I know you'll use because everybody uses this, right? Where you have to make a new project folder. You're starting a new project, you need a new project folder. And if you like me, before I discovered this, it was like I have a template project folder, but I have to go and find it somewhere on my hard drive. I have to rename it to whatever the new project is. Then I have to put it in this new location. It's a bunch of steps. And it takes a while. It's annoying too, especially if I can't remember like where I put it. So, but with this automated workflow, you can just do this with 2 clicks. So you double click this workflow. Here we go. And it's just going to ask me 2 things. It's going to say, what do you want to call this project and where do you want to put it? And the other thing I want you to call your attention to at the very bottom here, you have this shell script. So you can actually run scripts within Automator to really like supercharge these workflows. And so what this script does at the bottom is it adds subfolders. So your folder will have like projects and audio and graphics and that kind of thing in it. It will also place a template Premiere Pro project file in your projects folder. It will put a cube file, a LUT, in your graphics folder, which is one that I use all the time. So that looks good to me. It's ready to run. I hit run, and there I got my prompt, okay? So I go, what is this project called? Zombie project, okay? And where do I want to put it? On the desktop, choose, all right? And lo and behold, here we go, zombie project. And here we go. This is our project, our temp project. And you see how that took no time. And we have our Premiere Pro project file ready to be renamed and used. Here is our LUT, our .cube file. It's ready to go. So that is a couple of things that will help you automate your workflow. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't say that Automator may be going away, replaced by shortcuts. Shortcuts came out like 4 years ago. Because it's a more kind of a modern app, I'm sure it has a much more modern code base. And it also runs on iOS. So, Apple does this from time to time, right? It's like, well, we're going to throw this out and replace it with this. Here's what the interface looks like too, right? Nice, colorful, chiclets, yes. So, but the good thing is that you can potentially import your Automator workflow into shortcuts. So if you have a whole bunch of automated workflows, you don't have to redo them for shortcuts. Now, I actually tried to import that workflow I just showed you into shortcuts, but it didn't work. And I think it's because I had that bash script in it. But on the documentation that I'll provide for you in the QR code, there is someone who did a new projects template using shortcuts. So you should be able to work and you'll be fine. But just to let you know that shortcuts does exist, and it may be the future of this kind of automation on the Mac. Now, the second and last demo I'm going to show you tonight that I'm going to actually do is Terminal. Who knows about Terminal? Yes. Anybody use Terminal? Whoa, okay. Yeah, Terminal was kind of scary for me. I didn't use it for a long time because, I was told you can get into trouble with Terminal if you don't know what you're doing. And that's true if you use certain commands. But what I'm going to show you tonight is you can't get into trouble, especially because I'm going to give you step-by-step instructions so it won't happen. But it's definitely kind of an app that, a lot of advanced users use. A lot of editors I know really don't use it. But there's no reason to fear it. It's just another tool. And the great thing about Terminal is you can do things with Terminal you can't do with any other program. So, all right, so here's a scenario. Your client gives you this crazy file that they're saying, you got to put in my video. But it's a .mkv file.
Oh,
exactly. And it's like, you cannot import that file into Premiere. It just won't do it. And you can't convert that file using Adobe Media Encoder. You have to use what? Handbrake. The problem with Handbrake is it's going to convert that .mkv file into a .mp4 file, which is very compressed. I like to edit, when I edit, I like to edit an uncompressed source material as possible. Because if you're editing with a super compressed MP4 file, then you're going to export an MP4 file, which would be another compression. And then when you import it to YouTube, upload it to YouTube, they're going to further compress it. So then you get all kind of weird stuff like color shifts and crunchiness and stuff like that. So if there's a way for me to convert these strange files into an MOV file that has just like ProRes, which is going to be a much lightly compressed codec compared to MP4, H.264 codec, then I want to do it. And that's what Terminal will do. Okay, so I want to say also too that there are some setup things you have to do to run this workflow in Terminal. So like you have to make sure you have the latest version of Python installed, Homebrew, FFmpeg, but I have it all in the documentation on how to do it, so don't worry. It takes like 10 minutes. And once you do it, then you're good. You don't have to worry about doing it again. So, okay, let's go to our example project. So this is our example project folder, right? We go to video, and let me just zoom in here. So this is our video folder. It has our two subfolders, conversion and source. Now you go to the source folder, and there it is, that evil MKV file that we must vanquish. And but what is this here? Oh, it's this file that says mkv to mov.py. Py? What does that stand for? Does anyone know? Python, yeah. Python, it's a Python script that my great friend Simont Helene made for me, who's like super technical. And it was really helpful because the version of this demo that I was going to do in Terminal was going to give you carpal tunnel by the time you finish typing it all in. Whereas with this, all you have to do is just type in one sentence, and it'll do the workflow. So you just want to make sure you have this Python script in your folder every time you start. But I already showed you, like when you create a new folder, how you can just make sure files are already there when you need them. So here's Terminal. All right, and if you've never used it, yeah, it looks kind of like you're in TextEdit, right? But the giveaway is that you see it's pointing to a folder location here, right? This is our video subfolder, 2_video. And just so you know, like when you use Terminal, it doesn't default to the place where you need it to be. It defaults to your home folder. So you will need to make sure you're pointing in the right direction. But again, that is in the documentation that I have. So all the caveats aside, we're ready to do this. One thing I have to type, and then it'll just be off to the races. So we're going to type in Python 3 space mkv to mov.py. Basically, what did I just type? I just typed run this script, essentially. And so now I just hit return, and there we go. So it's going to give us 4 prompts. So it's saying, select your input folder. Well, our input folder is, there it is, 0, so I just type 0, okay. Select the file. There's only one file in the folder, the MKV file, so I just select it, boom. And then what's the output folder? Conversion, so I select the conversion folder. And then now, what do we want to name the output file? Well, it already's given me a name. It just says the name of the source file, but now it's appended with MOV. And now we're ready to go. Hit return. Ooh, it's like the Matrix. And we go to the conversion folder, and we see it's building the file here, the MOV file. And bada bing, bada boom, it's done. Breaking news, we have a converted MOV file. It's wonderful. And when I do Command I, that's Apple ProRes 422HQ, so very lightly compressed. And that is how you use Terminal to convert files. And you never have to go into Handbrake again if you don't want to. So, thank you. So the last thing is emergent workflows. right? Not quite here, or if it is here, it's kind of barely usable, or maybe not even for what I need, but I need to keep an eye on it. So cloud workflow automation, what is that? It streamlines repetitive tasks by connecting different software and automating actions. What that basically means is you can connect like different cloud services together so that you can do things. And these are the three biggest apps that do that: Zapier, Make, and N8N. Who's heard of Zapier? Okay, yeah, I'm not surprised because they're like the pioneering app in this space. They've been around since pretty much the beginning. What's that? If this, then that. Yes. Yeah, they were first. If this, then that was first, but Zapier kind of overtook them. And so let me give an example of a Zapier workflow. So send new Zoom webinar recordings to video team for editing. So let's say you're recording something on Zoom. As soon as it's done recording, it's automatically going to send that file up to Google Drive, to a folder you select. And then once that's uploaded to that folder, it is going to send a message to your video team on Slack. That's huge, right? You don't have to do that now. Because in the past, you would have been like, oh, is the video done recording on Zoom, on the Zoom server? Okay, now let me drag it over to Drive. Oh, when is Drive ever going to finish uploading this thing? Then I got to go on Slack and let them know. But you don't have to do any of that now. Once you're done with the Zoom, you can recording the Zoom, you can go to lunch. And by the time you get back, you're ready to edit. So you see the power of these kind of automations. Here's my slight beef with these tools. As an editor, I wish that these tools had more apps that I use. Zapier has over 8,500 integrations or apps that it supports. 8,500, that's insane. But yet there's only a couple that are like video post apps. You see Frame.io up here on the top right corner. But that's kind of one of the very few ones. Yeah, you have like Gmail, Google Drive, Slack, Asana, but these are like ancillary apps. What I want to see is more apps like this, where you have Lucid Link, where you have Iconic, where you have Riverside, Suite Studios, which is a Lucid Link competitor. These are like these pro kind of post-production apps where if Zapier supported these apps, I could really do a lot more automations. But again, that's why this to me is emergent in the sense of video posts, because I can only dream and hope that it's a matter of time before it supports these things. If it supports 8,500 other apps, then why not like the apps that I use? So anyway, yeah, exactly. Now, this is what Roy Wanguhu, co-founder of the Vine, but also DP and studio owner, uses the competitor to Zapier for, N8N. He uses it as a tool to research and write social media posts. So that's the thing. So even though these tools aren't maybe helpful for me as an editor, that's just one part of the business. You have the creative side and the business side, and he's able to use this for the business side. I'm not going to go through module by module what you're seeing here, but basically he runs this at 8 in the morning, and it will go out into the web, research stories based on his needs, right, that are specific to him, who he is, and it will put like scripts in his Google Drive. And these are scripts that he can take straight to the teleprompter and do his social media posts with. I mean, that's insane. I used to be a blogger back in the early 2000s, and my hand still hurts from all the researching I had to do. So if I had a tool like this, it would be incredible. So talk with him afterwards about how he uses N8N, because again, if this was for maybe some post-process, I'm not quite sure what that will look like, but it will be incredible. And the last thing I will say about this is there's some parts to this that are Agentic AI. Have people heard this term? Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's getting more and more popular. Like, basically what it means is Agentic AI is when you give AI agency to do things for you, right? It's like, hey, I want you to go out onto the web, do this thing, and then give me the result. And that's essentially what he's done at these critical junctures of this workflow. Now, there's certain trust that's involved with that. You may have to give it your credentials, you may have to give it your credit card number. It just depends on what you're trying to do. Not always. But there are definitely a few barriers for some people. It's very new, and it's just a total rethink about how we do researching and just do things in general. So that's cloud workflow automation. Now, the last thing, and thanks for bearing with me, Google AI Studio. Okay, again, they're a client, but I was not paid to talk about this because I use this in a totally different way than the one I'm about to show you. This is almost like an off-label way to use Google AI Studio. I use it to do kind of social media cut downs for long videos. But it's so much you can do with the tool. But the way that this person is using Google AI Studio, because this was a tutorial that I found on YouTube, they're using it as a real-time interactive AI support. What does that mean? That means that they're using it as a way to basically, it's like having a tech support person sitting right next to you, helping you solve an issue that you may have. Because the AI is looking at your screen, and it's actually talking to you with natural language. You have to, of course, give permissions with your camera and your phone, with the audio, so that you can have a conversation with it. And you'll see, so in this demo, it's like literally 2 minutes. This guy is going to be asking AI how to do, I think, scaling in DaVinci Resolve. And I was just like, whoa, that's incredible. So here we go.
Let's now look at how AI Studio can help us in another application, DaVinci Resolve. If you've never heard of this before, it's free video editing software that I personally use to edit all the videos on my channel. If you want an in-depth tutorial, check out the video down below in the description. I have this clip on my timeline, and I want to zoom in on this clip from the very beginning right up until the end of my clip. How do I go about doing that?
Okay, you want to zoom in on a clip in DaVinci Resolve. Starting from the beginning and continuing to the end of the clip, I can help with that. First, select the clip on your timeline. Then go to the inspector panel. In the inspector panel...
Oh, hold on a second. Where's the inspector panel?
Okay, you're looking for the inspector panel in DaVinci Resolve. It's usually located on the upper right side of the screen, near the media pool and mixer panels. Do you see it there?
I see inspector. Yep, I clicked on it. Okay, so how do I slowly zoom in on this clip?
Now that you've selected the clip and opened the inspector panel, look for the transform section where you'll see a zoom parameter. You can animate it by creating keyframes. Do you see that zoom setting?
I see the zoom setting, so I'm at the beginning of the clip. What do I do with the zoom setting?
With the playhead at the beginning of the clip, click the diamond-shaped keyframe icon next to the zoom parameter. This will set the starting zoom level. What zoom level would you like for the beginning of the clip?
I'll just start with 1, just the standard zoom.
Okay, so the zoom is set to 1 at the beginning of the clip. Now move the playhead to the end of the clip. Then what zoom level do you want at the end?
Let's say maybe 1.2 or 1.3, maybe something like that.
Okay, let's set the zoom to 1.24 at the end of the clip. You should now see a keyframe icon appear at the end. Now the zoom will transition smoothly from 1 to 1.24 across the entire clip. Is that the effect you were aiming for?
Oh, look at that. Thanks for the help. That's awesome.
Right? I mean, I work from home. I don't have IT right down the hall for me. And I certainly don't have like someone who's really good at DaVinci Resolve to just give me, feedback on how to do something. I've just been in that situation a million times where I'm on YouTube trying to find a tutorial to solve some problem that I have. Sometimes I never find it because, everybody's configuration is different. So when I saw this, I just felt like, again, this is something that could be really helpful, and this is just going to be the beginning of these kinds of AI assistants that's going to be increasingly personal and helpful for you. So that's it. Death to Zombie workflows. Just remember, if you can be intentional, modern, and automated, and future focused on what you're doing, you're going to make videos as creatively as you possibly can. Thank you. So I think we have 10 minutes? Oh, should we pass it on? Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it?
We're going to do voice of the vine?
Well, we think it's 10 minutes of Q&A, then voices.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Any questions?
He has a question.
And I can pass the mic over. Thank you.
Eric, great presentation. Really interesting stuff. Looking back at the workflow, making modern and insightful workflows. Do you have any suggestions for, let's say you're working somewhere freelance and you're looking to implement these suggestions? Do you have any like horror stories, success stories, or tips for maybe bringing these into workplace where they might not be in place?
Well, you know what I would do is, so even as a freelancer, I would have my workflow guide on Trello. And you know, if the post-production supervisor just happened to look over and say, whoa, what is that? I'm like, oh, well, let me tell you and stuff. And so, yeah, I would just say don't be shy if you feel like you've worked out some ways to do things that are better. There was one place I was at, and I kind of was like, they're going to fire me because I'm like, because, you know, you really feel the brunt of it when you're a freelancer, right? It's just like, these staff people, they come in there day in, day out. They know how to do this stuff because they've been there for a while, but we don't know how to do it. But they never really implemented anything until years later. And I was just like, oh, wow, okay, now finally. But at least they finally did it, because some places they just never do. But I would just say be persistent, but just be ready to show something to them on your laptop.
Any other questions?
Oh, see.
I saw you first.
Yes, hi. I use AI Studio because I'm a developer.
Oh.
Some of the issues is the hallucinations too.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because it hallucinates when I use it for certain things, and so I have to always double check it. Sometimes I'll be honest, I don't use it because it's like it's still at that stage where it's hallucinating, and sometimes it's just quicker for me to do it. But I just want to hope and believe that those hallucinations are going to go away at some point. We'll see.
Do people know what they mean by hallucination?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Your hallucinations are like, they're not errors, it's that your AI starts to wander off. It's nothing to do with the code. I call it they're on drugs, but it but it starts to just wander off. There is some companies now who are dealing with the hallucinations and dealing with they're expensive. So they only go for financial institutions or healthcare because those are prevalent when you have AI in those areas. But hopefully it'll roll out for everything because that makes a difference of the hallucinations. You'll get, its accuracy is like 50%. But what the companies are making accuracy of 99%. So that's some of the issues with hallucinations right now.
Right. And again, I'll use a tool to cut down a long 10-minute video into a 30-second part, section for social media. And sometimes it'll do that. And what it gives me isn't that great because it doesn't understand context. There's still a lot of context stuff it doesn't understand. And that's why I'm looking forward to maybe eventually, like with Hollywood, for those of you doing narratives, maybe one day AI will be able to understand what's a good take versus what's a bad take. Because that could be very life-saving. Now, of course, now we're getting into your creative that it's starting to take away from. But if you have hundreds and hundreds of takes, if you're like Christopher Nolan or something, you have 100 takes for a scene, that could be helpful, right? But it still doesn't understand context enough to do that.
So I just had a question about, you mentioned earlier on, sort of as a piece of the workflow is taking notes.
Yeah.
Are there any things that you've found to streamline that process, especially when there are multiple stakeholders giving notes on a project?
Wait, can we say that again, kind of like taking notes?
So like you present an edit to the client,
Yeah.
and they give notes.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe the director has notes.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe the client also has a stakeholder that they want to give notes, right? And all of those notes have to be tracked. You have to make sure that all those notes get executed.
Yeah.
I definitely have my own systems for doing that.
Right.
But I'm curious if you've found ways to streamline that. We did a project recently where we used Frame.io.
Yeah.
And the client was not consistent with always putting things in Frame.io, right? Sometimes they would put things in emails.
Yes.
And so then you have to dig up which Frame.io link to actually drop it into, and different links were generated for people based on, this is maybe really complicated, but some people had seniority over other people, right?
Yeah.
So you sort of take their note before you take the note of the other,
Yeah.
So there's intricacies to it. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious if you found a way to streamline that notes process
Well-
and tracking the notes to make sure they've been executed.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is where diplomacy comes into play, right? Because you have to be like, gently remind people that, as we said at the beginning of the project, when we talked about communication preferences and styles and stuff like that, there needs to be these 10, let's say there's 7 rounds or whatever, right? But let's say there's all these stakeholders. Some of those stakeholders may need to have all of their comments put in one kind of document and given. And then someone needs to go through that and sift through and make sure there aren't redundancies. There's nothing worse than when you have like 50 notes on Frame.io, but like half of them are redundant or whatever. So yeah, you definitely want, it just has to be, again, I think it just goes back to communication. Yeah, have all your comments on Frame. Not on email, not on chat, not on carrier pigeon. It's just really hard to keep track with that stuff. So, yeah.
Any other questions before we move
Yeah,
on
we'll
to
do
the
one
voices?
more.
Oh, the Vine. Yeah.
Okay.
Last question.
Eric, great job. So whether it's Trello or whether it's the Google Workspace with the to-do lists and all the different colors, do you have a system in place as far as how frequently you update that? Because that seems like a part-time job in and of itself. I mean, updating all of
The workflow guide.
Yeah, not the guide per se, but you've got a project that's active and open and you're working on it. And I just saw all the different elements, all the different, remember the colored circles?
Oh, yeah. The project tracker. And
so do you have a system in terms of when those are updated?
Okay, I'm going to give a better answer than I gave the night of this presentation, because it wasn't until later I really realized what he was asking, and it's going to be a better answer. So I would say update this All Projects Tracker twice a day. I would update it first thing in the morning because the day before, you most likely had some people who were still working on your video after the end of business day. So after 5 or 6 o'clock, there may be some people who are still working. A lot of creatives like to work in the evenings. So they may still have some things that they need to tell you how it went, some tasks that they're working on that are on this project tracker, as well as there might be some stakeholders, creative stakeholders overseas, right, who are working in a completely different time zone than you, so that they're working many hours after you got off of work locally. So you would update that board, and so depending on what they had to report on whatever task is on the board that they were working on, you would, put either green, yellow, or red. The second time I would update this board is at the end of the day, where you could then check in with all of your people here locally and ask them how they're doing with a particular task. So that way it's twice a day. So that way it's not overwhelming where you're like constantly throughout the day updating this board. So even if someone gets done with a task, let's say at noon, you wouldn't necessarily have to update the board until end of day if you don't want to. But that's a decision that, each studio would make, right? And again, this is going to be like the, post supervisor or post-production manager. These are the people who are going to potentially be making changes to this board. Not necessarily like hands-on creative. So yeah, that's the answer I would give to like how often you should update this board. That's the frequency I would do.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Eric. A round of applause for Eric.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.